good, CSBA? What's going on? How's everybody doing on this Saturday night? Another installment of Wired Up. We got C-Web and we've got Ray hanging out with us here in Wired Up on a Saturday. C-Web is working on his camera. He's having some tech issues getting it connected, but he is here. He will speak at the very least until he can get his camera going. And then we got Ray over there too. What's up, Mr. Raymond?
What's going on, CSBA? What's going on, Wired? How you doing tonight, buddy?
I'm good, buddy. I'm good. I was celebrating my son's 10th birthday today, so I've been it's been a fun-filled day celebrating him, and now we're here celebrating Wired Up on a Saturday night. What up, C-Web?
Yeah, man.
Yep, I'm here. Sorry, I'm just.
No, I know you're I know you're going through your technical stuff. Don't worry, you're good. But what's good? What's going on, buddy? How are you?
I'm doing good. Actually excited to go through, a couple weeks of games we've had here, and yeah, we actually had some really exciting games, so it's going to be fun to talk about that.
Yeah, I'm excited. I was really excited and happy with some of the results that we saw in the preseason. There were some really close games. I think we even had one game go to overtime. I'd say 90% of the games were the matchups. I mean, they were all good games, regardless. Even the blowouts games were good. But if you wanted, like, from a competition perspective, I'd say a good 95% of the games were competitive. So at least for 3.5 quarters before team decided to pull away at the end. But we're gonna go through it and recap everybody. We were gonna recap all the games. Talk a little bit about some of what we saw in those games and some of the top performers. Just kind of recap up what the preseason was, and then you guys at the very end are going to talk a little bit about what you think your top 10s are for the CSBA right now heading into week one. Obviously, we'll see what the coaching committee comes up with from the rankings perspective, but I want to get your guys' opinion on the top 10. I know you guys prepared a little something on that, so let's kind of get rolling here. I appreciate everybody who is here. We're going to go in reverse, actually. I was thinking about it, and we made the guys that were in week 2 wait 2 weeks. I don't want to make them wait to do the reverse, so let's give them the benefit of the doubt. Let's jump right in, and probably one of the best games of the whole preseason, and that was Mississippi versus Maine Tech. We saw a career performance from Madara Satoru, and then we've seen Perry Dudley do what Perry Dudley does, 18 points, double-double. But this one went right down to the wire. What's your guys' thoughts on what we saw in this one? Ray, if you want to start first.
I actually I called this game with you, and it was a game where I knew Perry Dudley was going to do Perry Dudley things, and I honestly thought that it was going to be a situation where Maine Tech kind of controlled the boards and controlled the game down low and walked away with a win, but Mississippi Blues actually surprised me. The Delta Blues are a solid squad, top to bottom, and Madara Satoru found his home here. He's found his niche.
Yeah, I was impressed with Mississippi as well. We know Maine Tech. There's a large contingent of those players that were on Iowa State last season. We know Perry Dudley does, like you said, Perry Dudley things, but you got some good secondary performances from Jacko Yank and Tay Lowe. Yank had 17, 4 dimes. Lowe with 10 points, 3 assists. So those guys balled out. This one, if I remember correctly, it came literally right down to the wire. And Mississippi, to your point, Mike, I thought they impressed. A little better than what I anticipated going into that game, and this game actually was put towards the back end of the week because I didn't think it was going to be as good as it was, and it was probably one of the best games of the entire preseason. So, shout out to them. C-Web, any thoughts on the Mississippi Maine Tech game?
Yeah, this actually was one of the best games of the preseason. Like you were saying, Perry Dudley did Perry Dudley things. What I was really impressed with is Mississippi Delta, outscored Maine Tech 35-24 off the bench. So that was a real turning point in this game because I know they got behind for a little bit and were able to come back and put it back to Maine Tech.
Yeah, Maine Tech had 62 points in the paint, and I think that was a big part of the reason why they were in this game because they did not shoot well from beyond the arc, only going 2 of 13. But they we know Maine Tech is a big squad, and they do a lot of their damage within the paint, and that's absolutely what kept them in the game. Which is it. The interesting part about this, and I think Ray and I discussed this during the game. Mississippi went to the line 19 times. Well, Maine Tech only went to the line 9. And what's strange about that stat is you would think a team, that had that many points in the paint, there would be a lot more fouls. And that Maine Tech would go to the free throw line, especially with 62 points in the paint, only going to the line 9 times. Mississippi obviously played them clean in the paint, but it's just interesting that Maine Tech dominated as much as they did in the paint and only went to the free throw line 9 times. That's a kind of a telling stat. Maybe that Mississippi didn't play it more of a physical style game, but that's what kept Maine Tech in that game, especially behind the likes of Dudley. So that's our take on that one at least. We can jump ahead here because we got a lot of 18 games to kind of cut through. We'll jump ahead here to Cheyenne and Emerald City. For me, this game, kind of what I expected. Cheyenne actually jumped out to an early lead in this game. Played Emerald City tight, at least through the first quarter, but then I don't think to anybody's surprise, Cheyenne kind of faded pretty quickly. Obviously, for a variety of reasons, I think Emerald City is very talented, but and I think this is the challenge that State is going to have at Cheyenne State is that vast majority of this team was in the mid majors last year as part of our progression league. So it's going to be a little bit of an uphill battle, but does have 4 players this season graduating after the season, so he'll have some opportunity to build on from the few guys that he was able to get during the recruiting portal. But what's your take here, Ray, on Emerald City and Cheyenne State?
Yeah, so like you said, Cheyenne State jumped out to an early lead, but they just absolutely got dominated down low. They only scored 22 points in the paint. They gave up 62 points in the paint. They had 21 total rebounds, and Emerald City had 28 just defensive rebounds. I mean, they got beat in the paint in this game. They shot the ball pretty well from outside, but they shot 41%, 7-17 from 3-point land. But from inside, it was really bad because they only went 21 of 56 for the game. So
yeah.
And that's 38%.
Yeah, I mean Emerald City shot 71%, right? Which is nuts.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, and they did most of their scoring inside. They shot 7 of 16 from 3-point land. I think if Cheyenne would have stayed outside and continued to shoot threes, I think they would have kept it a lot closer.
Yeah, without a doubt. And see, what's your take on what you saw in this game? Obviously, if you look at just the stats in general, there's some telling tales there.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Emerald City ended up dominating this game in the end. Marlon Lawrence with the double-double and 3 blocks was a huge part of that. They really eliminated the inside scoring and forced Cheyenne to pretty much try to win the game from outside. And not that their 3-point percentage was bad, but when you can't score inside and that's all you've got, there's not much you can do.
Yeah, I mean, 7 of 17 from downtown from Cheyenne State, which 41% is not, nothing terrible. I mean, if you look at Emerald City's numbers for this game, they were 7 of 16. So the numbers pretty comparable between both teams. But yeah, I mean, Emerald City absolutely dominated them in the paint. 22 fast break points to a goose egg for Cheyenne State. I know, and I would imagine, State was probably thinking, coach of Cheyenne State thinking about some ulterior, coaching strategies for this team, but definitely not able to get out and transition. That also hurt them, and that's shooting 38% certainly did not help matters either. But congrats to Emerald City. Don Machiavelli obviously leading, and him and Marlon Lawrence leading with 17 apiece. in the winning effort. Muka Lodrick, a guy that for Cheyenne State, I'm excited to see where he goes. Did have a high volume, 6 of 17, but did lead Cheyenne State with 15, which is probably a quarter of their points. So curious to see where those programs go. But it's tough to kind of gauge where I think Emerald City is. I know they have the talent there, but a game like this against a team, not knocking on Cheyenne State, but I think Emerald City, a much stronger team. It's tough to see where they're going to kind of stack up in the grand scheme of things heading into Week 1's rankings. So curious to see what the coaches do with that. Let's jump ahead to the next game. Let's go the Oat and Quantico. And what was I think for 3.5 quarters was a relatively close game. I think down the stretch, Ohio A&T started to pull away on Quantico. But we're going to flip the script. C-Web, talk to me a little bit about, we'll go to you first this time, about the Ohio A&T and Quantico game.
Well, I mean, first off, we've seen the most of Ohio A&T out of all the teams this season, just with them being in that little preseason tournament as well. And I think this is what I expected from them. I know Quantico is a very, very strong team. More on that later when I get to my top 10 possibly. But Ohio A&T really came out and played the game that we expected them to, dominating in the paint and just playing really efficient basketball. I know their 3-point percentage could have improved, but when you can outscore your opponent by 8 in paint and you're winning the game by 14, that's a big pretty telling factor right there.
Yeah. What about you? What about for you, Ray?
Yeah, I actually thought going into this game it was close for 3 quarters. I thought it would finish close as well because Quantico's one of those teams that's loaded. The lineup's loaded. I think they're a very, very, very good team. Not for sure they put out their best game plan in this one after watching and just knowing a little bit about that team. I don't think they put out their best game plan. I don't think they showed their hand, so to speak.
I was going to say, do you think they were sandbagging in this one?
Maybe a lot of it.
Maybe a bit. I don't want to say they were fully sandbagging because, again, I'm really high on Ohio A&T. I think they're a really solid team. And like Ray said, this was a close game. It got a little – I mean, they won by 14. It wasn't really that big of a difference toward the end. But
no, I mean, it was close. It was close for majority of the game. The four. I mean, listen, it's not 20 plus, right? So if I remember correctly, it was single digits till late in the game when they actually had to foul and some missed shots and put it to 14. So to me, this is not. I don't consider a 14-point difference in a game a blowout. It's when you're at the 20 plus, 20, even closer to 30. That's when I'm starting to look at things as a blowout. Because the way 2K is, you're going to get some of those situations down the stretch where you're going to have, guys being fouled into the line and trying to chuck up threes to try to tie the score at the very end. So I don't put it in that category.
With that being said about them not putting in their best game plan, I honestly don't think Ohio A&T put in their best game plan either. I mean, just being honest.
Well, I know for a fact they
a little bit.
Yeah, as I say, I know for a fact, Ray, they didn't, and the reason I say that is because their entire starting lineup that we saw in the preseason,
it's not their starting.
They were the bench unit in this game, and they still won by 14. That says a lot about the strength of this team.
Yeah,
I know this well, and they won by 14 points off the bench because their starting unit was playing off the bench.
Yep, which is less minutes.
Yeah. So I mean, I know that this wasn't their best. I know that neither team put in the best of the best that they had. But I'm really high. Like you said, I'm really high on Ohio A&T too. I think they're. We'll talk about them more later. I'm not going to give anything away.
Yeah, no, for sure. I do like Quantico. There's a lot to like about the team that Gordo put together. Again, I said this during our recruiting show. I was beyond thrilled for him to get Seymour Butts. I think if he can figure out, and granted, I don't know if he, like we talked about, did he sandbag, did he not sandbag, because Butts had 20 points in this game anyway. But ultimately, what I'm saying is, like, if he can figure out how to use him, he has a weapon on that team that will it'll be worth its weight in gold. So more to see what happens with Quantico, but I was impressed with both these teams to start. Jumping up to the next game, Kenai versus Big River State. Kenai wins this one also by 14. Another good game. I will say I felt like at times there were points in the game Big River State struggled to have consistency. That is my one concern for them. But ultimately, Kenai, in my opinion, I thought looked. I mean, I'm sorry, this game was not won by 14. It was won by 14. I almost do my math wrong. Yeah. It was 14. But Kenai, I felt looked very steady. I felt like they had a very balanced attack. Whether they showed their hand or not here, I don't know. I'm assuming they did. But I was really impressed with not only how this team meshed together, but how well they played. Right, talk to me a little bit about this one.
Yeah, I honestly didn't think this one was going to go the way it did. I thought it was going to be a much. I mean, 14 points isn't bad, but I thought this was going to be a one or two, come down to the final minutes type thing. Kanai showed me a lot more than I thought they had. I knew they had some players that are really good, but the way they meshed is what's really, like you said, that's what really surprised me. I didn't know how well that team was going to mesh together, but it came together nicely. And you score 90 points anytime, you're doing pretty well.
Csba, what's your take?
Yeah. So we don't know exactly if Big River State was showing their hand here or not. We think that both of these teams were pretty much giving everything they had, but Kenai really, when you look at the stats, they really didn't dominate any one aspect of this game, but they did have a 21-point lead at one point, and Big River only ever held the lead by 5 at the best. So it was a little bit one-sided in that respect, but Big River State also went 71% from downtown, which every time Kenai had a run, they seemed to have a run of their own that was pretty much spurned on completely by threes.
Yeah, without a doubt. And the other thing, too, and you talk a little bit about the defense being played. 7 turnovers for Big River State, 13 points off the turnovers. So the Kenai defense, I think, maybe that wasn't as noticed as or in the forefront of the entire story of this game. But when you get 13 points off for turnovers, you win by 14. Definitely had an impact, in my honest opinion. Medici leads the way with 19 points. KJ Speed and Flicker Bean following with 11 and 10. And then on the other side, good game by Adam Sala, 18 points. Probably one of the best performances I've seen him have in his CSBA career. And then Stefan Weddle, which we've seen. He kind of reminds me a little bit of John Starks for those that, and again, I'm probably going really way back for my age. But back in '94 when the Knicks went to the finals, he reminds me of him. He's a very streaky shooter. When he's on, he can put up 20, 25 points. When he's off, you can see him, 2, 4, 6 points a game. So I'm curious to see what happens with him this season. This past postseason was not as good. The season prior to that was really good. So Big River State has some talent. Antonio Jackson was a little quiet in this game for me. 4 points, 6 boards. Did well defensively, but didn't do as much offensively. Let's jump ahead to Albuquerque and Key West. Albuquerque wins this one, 83-74. I want to let you guys, Webb, let you talk about this one a little bit before we go to Ray on it. What were your thoughts?
Albuquerque is a team that I was expecting quite a bit out of coming into this season. Key West really surprised me, hanging in this game the way they did, holding the lead at one point. Rick Mort, 20 points against a pretty stiff matchup on the other side. Again, I was really impressed with the Bearded Dragons in this game more than I was. Albuquerque played a great game, but again, I think that they played the game I expected to see from them, and really, I was more impressed with what I saw at Key West, despite the fact that they lost.
What about you, Ray? So I have some thoughts here too. I'll chime in after you're done.
He pretty much stole my entire antithesis for this one. Yeah, I was very much impressed with the Bearded Dragons. I I was just looking, and they're a lot of progression guys on that team, and they led this game by 7 points at one point. And it wasn't like it was 7 points early in the game. It was they were up somewhere around halftime or so, and they were up seven, and it was just like, wow,
Yep.
this team's actually really good. Like they're a solid team. Um, Again, is it did the coaches put out their best? Did they not put out their best? That's kind of a question. The question, you don't really know which way they went. Um, but if you go through the Armadillos lineup and you just look down their lineup, they're loaded. They're a really good team. So I definitely expect to see a lot more out of them this season. A lot
Yeah.
more W's coming.
Yeah, and they played well. Like I said, they won by 13 in this game. They shoot 61% for. Listen, you look at this game, and you say, "Wow, Key West shot 45%, and the Armadillos shot 61%, respectively."
62% from 3 point line.
Yeah,
Goodness.
which is
Knocked down 8 3-pointers.
which is crazy in itself. But if you look at the top two scorers alone, Logan Fox and Hercules Alexander, each 2 or 3 from downtown, so 4 6 collectively just between the two of them. 28 points. Um, Guys like Ronald McFonnell, McDonough, Cooper Wiersma. There's a lot of players on this team that we didn't see a lot from offensively. I mean, Takamari being held to 4 points is ludicrous, and granted played 16 minutes off the bench, but we're used to seeing him put up 20 and 10 a game. So it'll be interesting to see what Albuquerque does. But I was, to your point, you guys' point, I was impressed with Key West in this one. Rick Mort leading the team with 20 points, progression player, mind you, leading the team with 20 points, and then a huge offseason signing in Carlos Uwa. Excuse me, it's not Carlos. It's I forgot his first name. Well, Uwa anyway. 19 and 9, 9 of 11. Super, super, super big game from him in the interior. I'm excited to see what he does. I have a feeling he's going to take a huge leap forward this season if he plays games like that, coming over from Texas Tech. So I'm excited for the future Key West. I think there's definitely some excitement down in Florida. We'll see how their season plays out, but to play that close to tough a game against Albuquerque is pretty impressive. Jumping ahead, let's talk about Tech and Michigan A&M. Ray, you want to take this one to start?
Yeah. So this one, um, this one, this is one where I'm like, I think both coaches went all out on this one.
I do too, without a doubt.
Yeah, yeah. Vinny Trill had 26 and 6. Drake Scott with 23, 2 and 2, and they lose. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you heard that. Emmanuel Lake puts up 13, and they lose. So their top 3 scorers went off, and then they just kind of. What's wild is they really fell off after that. Like their top 3 did their job, and then everybody else fell off. But that's not taking anything away because Michigan A&M is a solid squad. The Blues brothers, of course, both of them scored 19 points. Raines puts up 15 and 10. I mean, this is the Michigan team. They're loaded. They knocked down 13 3-pointers on 59% from behind the arc. I mean, it's a game. They put out their best and showed why they're one of the top teams in the CSBA.
See Webb.
Yeah, Michigan, like we said, definitely put on a performance. Really impressed with the team that they've put together there. The big thing here for Tech, like we said, they just fell off on the bench, or their bottom 4 scorers that combined for only 7 points. I don't know if it was the offensive strategy. I don't know if it was the matchups, but that was definitely where Michigan held the advantage in this game. Was they got more consistent scoring throughout their lineup, whereas Tech relied really heavily on those top 2 and wasn't able to find the consistency from the rest.
Well, knowing that this team is built pretty deep of progressions with the extent of the three and the big three, and they're going to probably be the big three for majority of this season. I was impressed with Tartak. I'm not going to lie. I think where what will make or break their season is the secondary performances that they get beyond the big three. I like this team. I like the way it's built. I know Storm is a solid coach. He usually puts together really good game plans. He's going to need to get some of those secondary pieces to contribute either off the bench or with the big-headed three. Drake Scott actually came off the bench and poured in 23, which is pretty impressive to say the least. So I'm excited to see where Tartak goes. I think this is just the start for them. But they lost this game to to your point, guys, a very tough, very loaded Michigan and A&M team that I probably think will get better even as the season goes, which is scary to say it when they they're putting in 95 points. So we'll see how it goes. You got the Rames brothers, the Prince and King, and then you got the Blues brothers. So a lot of talent here at Michigan A&M. We'll see where they go. Curious to see where they get ranked too. They should, in my opinion, probably get ranked pretty high. Definitely top 10 things, in my opinion. Jumping ahead to Clutch City versus Atlanta State. Another interesting game. I think Atlanta State in this one. I was a little disappointed in their performance. I think Clutch City played well, but I know this game was a 14-point game. But just knowing that Atlanta State has a lot of returning talent. What's your thoughts? What was your thoughts on this one?
I think Atlanta State got a little bit unlucky with the shooting percentages.
23s is a lot of threes.
Yeah, they shot a lot of threes. A number of those actually were late in the game when they were trying to play catch up. I will say that, but yeah, a little bit more even distribution of the ball. They got outscored by almost 20 in the paint, which is never a good way to win a basketball game, especially when you're only shooting 40% from outside, despite taking 23s. I did like
Swoosh is saying in stream chat, by the way, that Gaucher had the flu.
Oh, I get it. Okay, so they were sandbagged. Anyway, okay.
One of seven, and he had the flu. I love it.
1 of 7, and he had the flu. All right, so Gaucher basically he was on the take, and this game ended the way it did.
And T. Crow said he didn't have breakfast that morning either.
I do think Atlanta State is better than the outcome of this game. I think they got a little bit unlucky in the shooting department for sure.
Right, what's your thoughts?
Clutch City, third straight freshman of the year. Courtney Harris?
Possibly.
Yeah, well, could be.
I mean,
the question is, they're going to do anything with it in postseason. That's the question. If you're going to keep churning out talent that.
So Atlanta State loaded pretty much the Auburn team, and is loaded with talent. Brendan Gaucher's not going to go 1 of 7 every game. He's gonna.
He's about to change things up because he just arc changed yesterday.
So we know he's going to light it up and do what he does. But this Clutch City team is underrated, to say the least.
There's a lot of talent here.
Courtney Harris, DeMarcus Wyatt, Peter Packer, Incognito Rodriguez.
And Rodriguez was the freshman of the year 3 seasons ago. Keep that in mind, too.
Two seasons.
2 seasons ago.
Two seasons ago. And then it was Incognito last year, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Or who was it last year? Yeah, one of them.
No, wasn't it Packer? I thought it was Packer.
Oh, yeah, Packer last year and Rodriguez the year before. That's right.
Yeah.
All right, but anyways, and I mean, you get down to the bottom. You start looking down towards the bottom of Anakin Bryson only scored 6 points in this game, 3 of 7 shooting, 0 for 4 from behind the arc. This is a guy that can light it up as well and score a bunch of points. I mean, they're
don't forget about Gene Bernard, which we haven't seen.
Yeah.
Gene Bernard, we haven't seen anything from him yet. So,
yeah, but I mean, this team is loaded and is only going to get better. Clutch, Clutch City's coach happens to be my boy X-Face, but he's he's doing the right things, and he's got his guys active, engaged, and they're ready to make a run this year. Um, I just hope he doesn't take the Stern curse and can't get out of the first round of the playoffs.
Yeah, I do like what I've seen. Well, don't forget we did the Stearns broke the curse last season when Duke won the Natty. So
Yeah.
Well, I was more talking about Ted. He's got wheels, so he's good.
Ted's got a lot of bad luck going for him. Blue Koosh finishing with a double double, 14 and 10. Trey Woodard 13. Miles Woodbury, Malik Woodbury rather, with 12 as well. So only 3 players in double digits for Atlanta State. Um, I know there's a lot of talent on that team. I think this game, and I think what a lot of people forget about is how good Clutch City's defense is. 8 turnovers for 12 points in this one. 8 blocks, 7 steals. We didn't really talk about that. Granted, Atlanta State had 6 and 4 of their own, but Clutch City was able to take advantage in transition. There weren't a lot of transition. This was a very half court game oriented game. Only 14 points in fast breaks for Clutch City and 9 for Atlanta State. So it was a very big half court game being played here. Fun one, obviously with Clutch City taking the preseason win there. Now heading on to a game I know C Webb probably will not want to talk about, but Oahu and Trenton, and what was a phenomenal game, by the way. C Webb, I'll actually let you start since this was your game. You can talk a little bit about it.
No, I don't mind talking about this game. I thought Oahu played a terrific game. I think that's a program that I think has been built incredibly well in the off season. I know for a fact I took this game a lot more seriously than I normally take preseason games because I know that Oahu is probably going to be a top team this season. We hung tough. I was excited for what I was able to do with Riddle Diddle Ware, getting Eddie Murphy involved. King with the 10 assists obviously had a huge game facilitating for me, which was a big reason that I brought him in. So a lot of good points from my side. I can let Ray talk about the Oahu game because they had some really bright points as well.
And before Ray does, I would like to extend our deepest sympathies to Eaton, whose wife just recently passed away from cancer. Obviously, our thoughts and prayers are with him and his family at this time, and I don't want to bring down the stream. I know many of you probably saw his post this morning in Discord, but we love you, Eaton, and we're thinking about you. We are here for you in any way you need, an ear, a friend, whatever, a virtual hug if I can give one. And anything you need, we're here for you, buddy. But I just wanted to say that, so shout out to him. But anyway, Ray, talk to me a little bit about this game.
So this game was one of those games where I like Oahu a lot. I'm sorry. I think that Flight Spreewell, Jafari Keita, Eaton Letterman, Amari Brown, you're going to see, and CDC or CDAC, or whatever you want to call him. I think you're going to see a lot
Chameleon, a.k.a. CDC.
Yeah. Don't ask me to pronounce his name.
It is a rough name to pronounce, not going to lie.
But he actually struggled in this game, and they still scored 87 points and won.
And I was shocked to see him struggle because I don't think we've seen him struggle yet to date.
No. I think this is a team that is going to win a lot of basketball games. I think they're going to be there at the end of the year. We'll talk more about them later.
Yeah. My take just real quick on this game. Solid won by both squads. 5-point game. Doesn't get better than that. Trenton did get 10 points off of turnovers to keep it close in this one. Shot really well from beyond the arc, 9 of 20. A lot of threes, though, from Trenton to keep themselves in this game. Both teams shoot 52% from the floor. So pretty balanced game. It was actually a really fun one. Again, to see what his point Riddle did aware. I've known this man has had the talent. He goes a perfect 8 for 8 from the field, 17 points. Again, he talked a little bit about Eddie Murphy and Tribble. Very balanced scoring throughout the lineup. As a matter of fact, they had 4 guys in double digits and almost 5. And can we talk about Aiden King's 10 assists off as a power forward? What a game from
small
him.
forward.
That's nuts.
Small.
That's
No, he
nuts.
played the small forward. He's a power forward though.
Well,
Isn't he?
yeah, okay, yeah.
But he played the small forward position. But he is a power forward. But 10 assists, that's impressive. Didn't shoot the ball overly well, 2 of 8. But anytime you can get that kind of production from a big man, pretty impressive. So shout out to him. Jumping ahead, let's go to the next one. We're going to go to Bay City and Indiana A&M. This game went to overtime. Another phenomenal game during the preseason. Indiana A&M wins this one 98-92. Ray, talk to me about this one.
Yeah, this is a game where we saw Nicholas Williams go absolutely nuts. You and I have had many discussions about Nicholas Williams, and one of our favorite players in the CSBA.
I love his game. Absolutely love his game.
His game is absolutely phenomenal. He's one of those guys that can go out and score the basketball. But on the flip side, you're talking about an Indiana A&M team that is just loaded from top to bottom. And you got Sprouts, Maxwell, Vance, Biggums. I mean, they're a team that can go out and score in bunches. They're a team I think, as well as, like I said before about a couple other teams, they're a team I think that can make a deep run here at the end of the year.
C-Web, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I really like both of these teams, actually. I think they're both super talented. Bay City wasn't able to make the connection from three-point land, but it didn't really matter too much at the end. As we said, this game went into overtime. It was a super exciting game to watch. Jason Vance leading the way for Indiana A&M. He's going to be a difference maker all season for them for sure. But really impressed with both the way that both of these coaches put together their squads. They got really balanced scoring throughout the lineup. And I'm really excited to see what these teams do throughout the rest of the season, because I really think that they're getting maybe overlooked by some of the other some people in the league.
Yeah, I was excited for this one. We saw Jason Vance return to form, 9 of 15, 4 of 5 from downtown, so putting that 3-point back into his arsenal. Interestingly enough, Russell Sprouts in this game, 16.3 rebounds, 6 of 12. A lot of that done down the stretch in the fourth quarter and into overtime. Pretty much invisible for the whole first half. As a matter of fact, I don't think he had any points. If he did, it was like 2 tops. Cornbread Maxwell, 7 dimes. Sprouts, 6 dimes. Vance, 4 dimes. So between those 3 players, 17 assists. Distributed the ball very, very well. And again, I'll say this, and Ray, I know said it. I love Nicholas Williams' game. He's a guy that could put Bay City on his back when they need to, and he did this a lot in this game, putting up 26 on 12 of 23. A lot of volume there, but a solid game all around. Anytime they needed him, and then you look at Bo Wilson, a double-double, Clement Vicious 12 and 6. So there was some good games put up by both squads. This was a fun one to call. It went to overtime. Anybody can't even coming away with a loss in that game. You gotta keep your head up high, because got to feel good about it. Now, the next game we're going to talk about here really quickly, jumping ahead, is the Queen City Tech Bonetown A&M game. I know this one was a little bit of a rough one for Bonetown. Probably didn't shoot as well as they would have liked. Ray, you want to talk to me a little bit about this game? Yes, and I'm putting you
Didn't
first.
shoot as well or as much as we would have liked.
Yeah, I know you love the run and gun jacket from 3 style. You guys were struggling a little bit in this one.
Yeah, I threw something out there. I mean, let's be honest. It's preseason. I threw something out there. I didn't know if it would work or not. We tried to work the ball down in the paint, and it didn't work out so well for us. But anyways, not taking anything away from Queen City, because that team is loaded. Kobe Johnson, one of my favorite players. Next to him, Nicholas Williams. There's a couple others, but Kobe Johnson is an absolute animal. They got Ray Seymour, Kimba Leathers, Kyle Claxton. I mean, Angelo Roman, Penny Dimes. I mean, they Shaba Chamberlain didn't even score a point. I mean, and they still beat us by 14. So, yeah, that team's lovely.
I mean, listen, they didn't kill you, but 14 points.
No.
I just they
Oh,
did.
no.
I felt like Queen City Tech can try kind of control that game from the jump. Bowtown had not led at all that entire game, but biggest lead of the game was 16. So I felt like Queen City Tech. You guys were in it early, and then Queen City Tech just kind of clamped down on defense. But what's your take there, C-Web?
Well, first off, Ray, you said you threw something out there and to see if it would work. No, it didn't. No,
It didn't at all.
It did not work. Yeah, unfortunately, Marshall 1 for 9 from the field. He pretty much took you guys out of the game almost by himself. Talk a little bit about Queen City Tech, though. As you said, Kobe Johnson was a beast. Kemba Leathers, I really like this guy. One of my favorite personalities in the CSBA, if you haven't been around. 10 points and 2 boards on 4 of 8 shooting. Efficient night off the bench. I think he did a good job there leading that bench unit. And I actually expect to see a lot of development out of him with Queen City this season. But, good job all around by them in this game. Like you said, they held the lead for the entire game. So hard to argue with that. And, even if Bonetown had a better strategy, and I think Queen City definitely would have had the chance to come out on top in this either way.
Yeah, and no offense, Ray, at all. I kind of agree with that last sentiment. I will say, Ray Seymour continues to. I mean, we saw it early in the preseason game. If he plays the way he's been playing every game that I've seen him so far this preseason, I mean, 13 points, 12 boards, another double-double. The man has been killing it on the offensive boards. Had another 2 in this game. You've got Kyle Claxton didn't do as much in this game, only 2 of 5, but did have 9. But let's talk about a player here on Queen City Tech that we haven't seen anything from yet. That's Penny Dimes, and I expect to see a lot from him. So you start adding him into the scoring mix with those other guys. Queen City Tech's going to be a tough team, for anybody to kind of come up against. They're very tough defensively, and another deep team here. A lot of talent. Probably see some of the talent that probably didn't do much in this game, even though Queen City Tech was able to run away with the win. So a lot to look forward to if you are a QCT Marnock fan. Jumping ahead, Churchill, Derby, Berwyn, Bellringers. This game for me, I think, was very flat. This is probably the one bad blowout we did see. Churchill in this game for me, I think, just did not have a lot of scoring. I full transparency, I actually talked to Bagway after the game, and I said, by the way, don't ever run what you ran again. From a play perspective, just not. I think if we always joke around the CSBA about don't run the Raptors book or run that with grit and grind and these settings and blah blah blah. Well, I think not knocking Bagway, obviously he's a new coach and have a lot of respect for him because he did grab a lot of blue chips to stock up this roster, but they're raw. So there's definitely, in my opinion, a lot of room for growth for Churchill Tech. I think it's kind of difficult to gauge where Berwyn stands in the ranking of CSBA, but I will say there's a lot of talent there, Ray, and I'll go to you first when you have 6 guys in this game finished in double figures, mind you.
If you have a team where Rick Kahn is your second leading scorer, you're loaded. You're solid. I mean, let's just point that out to begin with. But yeah, no, this Berwyn team, I did not expect the 108 points. Just to be honest, I knew they were good, but I didn't know they were 108 points.
It doesn't hurt that they shot 70% from the floor.
Yeah, yeah. When you go through and you look and you're just like, their leading scorer went 21 and 10 with 2 assists and 3 blocks. I mean, did he win this game by himself? No, because Rick Kahn went 25-7. You know,
They feasted
yeah,
from three, though. They shot 70%. They feasted from three. They
yeah,
absolutely
11
were.
of 19.
Yeah, I mean, 58% from
And
three is insane.
you wouldn't expect them if they're shooting all those threes to get to the free throw line 21 times.
Yeah,
I
there's
mean,
that too.
yeah.
I know we just basically took everything there was to talk about in this game away from C-Web. But C-Web, what's your thoughts there?
Yeah, like you said, you kind of took most of it away. Berwin is loaded. The fact that they put up 100 points in a game, not necessarily a fluke. I know watching this game, it was very painfully obvious that the settings were just not going to be in favor of Churchill. Um, I'll try to talk about it from a coaching point of view more than anything here. Um, that's really what I saw was it was a raw team. Like you said, a lot of these guys they might be blue chips, but they're freshmen. They need some time to develop. They need to get in the gym. They need to figure out how they're going to work together. And we saw the result of a young team with a young coach in this game. That's really what it was. I expect them to get a lot better. But this was just it was a rough learning experience in their first outing.
Hey, listen, at the very least, a learning experience in the preseason when it doesn't really count for anything. So, I wish we had more preseason games. It's just the length of the season is so long as it is. Otherwise, I would throw more preseason games into the mix just to give guys the opportunity. We used to have, I think, a 2 or 3 game preseason, but the season's just lagged so much. And by mid-season, everybody kind of started to tune out because it was so much. So we don't want to do that. But learning experience, I would wholeheartedly agree. I think for Churchill, Bagway is going to start to dig in a little bit more than what he has. And him and I talked a little bit at length there. So hopefully he starts to lean into either the other coaches, or just in general starts to figure some things out. I'm pretty excited. But again, Berwyn, solid game. Can't take anything with the way they play. They look solid, ready. They're ready for the season. So let's flip it over to the New Orleans Revelers versus the San Antonio Vipers. I actually had higher expectations on this game. I'm not going to lie. I expected more out of San Antonio. I feel like they have a very good roster with guys like Cam Adebayo and Steve Carter Jr. and Kenny Moore-Lee on here. We saw a few of the players maybe not perform the way they probably could have, but that's not taking anything away from the game that we saw from the Revelers. I'll let C-Web actually talk about this one to start. C-Web, talk to me about this NOLA San Antonio game.
So first, to start with the good, super impressed with the way that NOLA played. I don't think that they were as high on my radar coming into the season as they are now after seeing this performance. 2 players with a double-double. That's rare. 17 and 13 from Atticus Maxwell and 18 and 10 from Kyle Anthony. And that was just, the whole team contributed. They got scoring throughout the lineup. 5 players in double digits. So really impressed with what the Revelers did in this game, because San Antonio is a good team on paper. Like you said, they have some really talented players, with 4 getting into double digits in this game, but 2 held scoreless. So they're going to have to figure some things out to get their bench a little bit more consistent. But great job from NOLA. San Antonio, I'm sure, will get it figured out, but just didn't have it in this game.
What's your thoughts, Ray? I have a couple comments, but what's your thoughts, Ray?
Yeah, I think again, it's a situation where I don't think Percy put in a game plan that he wanted to see win. I think he just put in some numbers, a random game plan. They shot 23 3-pointers. So, most of us are sitting here like, you turned your guards up, you turned your shooters up, and didn't even really try to score in the paint. You got outscored in the paint 60-16.
Yeah, I was hoping you were
Um,
going to call that out because that's ludicrous.
yeah,
That-
so I think it was a game plan thing. I don't think Percy was showing his hand because that, like you said, that team with Steve Carter Jr., Cam Adebayo, uh, they've got a lot of really good players.
well, I
But
will
don't take
say
anything away from New Orleans. New Orleans is loaded now.
no,
New Orleans has players
Yeah,
top
good.
to bottom.
No, I don't disagree with the thought and take on New Orleans. I think Atticus Maxwell is going to be a really pleasant surprise for them. You know, you got the senior Jacoby Mamba, another top end scorer. You know, the one consistent thing that we're starting to get as we're going through these rosters and talking and recap these games, there seems to be some consistency when you talk about the top three guys being the premier players and then the other guys being the role players. You're kind of seeing that story tell out across the league. I'm curious to see beyond Anthony Maxwell Mamba who of the rest of those teams. You know, Jimmy No Hands was very quiet in this game. We've seen him put up some big numbers in the past. Keith Ace, 13-6. Giovanni Valentine, 10 points. So there's some talent there beyond the top three as well. The one interesting thing here I'll talk about for San Antonio, their roster is a little small, so I'm not surprised to see them get beat. They don't have the size. I know Rastafari is supposed to arc change tomorrow. At least that's what I was told. So if he does do it in time, he will be a big. So that will help a little bit offset some of what happened in this game where they actually got crushed, and they're a little bit of a smaller team. So not surprising that they got out rebounded, 44 to 20 to 25, which is just crazy. And you talked about the points in the paint. So I don't know 100% if it was Percy's lack of a game plan here and kind of sandbagging, or if it was a combination of that plus the fact that they don't have the size. We'll have to see. But I think NOLA, to your point, Ray, and to your point, C-Web, is for real, and I'm excited to see what they do this season. Let's jump ahead to the next game. Broad Street Bullies, Langley University. I actually had higher expectations for this game. To me, this was to be the game of the week. I do think for me personally, Broad Street did not play as well as we anticipated them to play. Did get some solid performances from a few players, but I expect more from this Broad Street team. I think they sandbagged it this person. That's just my personal opinion, but what's your guys' takes? We'll go with you first, Ray.
Yeah, Langley's a really good team. They're loaded. They're top to bottom. They're absolutely loaded. But I'm with you on the whole. We didn't see everything the Broad Street Bullies have because not only is Langley loaded, Broad Street's loaded as well. They've got talent top and bottom as well. Um, but Langley just came out and just kind of just took it to them in this game and kind of had their way with them.
Yeah, Broad Street felt flat from jump. Again, not taking anything against Langley. I thought Langley played very, very well. But I will say for a team as good as Langley, I thought if with this roster being as low as that they would have put up more than 86. Just knowing that. But again, that's a testament to what Broad Street's defense is. But C-Web, talk to me about your opinion here.
Yeah, swing and a miss by Broad Street on the strategy. I think they were, again, as we're talking about them sandbagging, I think they were in the same boat as Bonetown. Threw something out. It didn't work. That one's going to go into the trash fire and start again. But so I'll focus on talking about Langley right now and the fact that they had, again, another team with two players that had a double-double, Scotty McNeil and Yoshi Medici, both putting up, McNeil 12-10, Medici an even 10-10, and Al Thor right behind it with 12-7. They
almost three double doubles. That's crazy.
Yeah, they also combined for 7 blocks. So Langley is going to be a tough team to beat inside, especially. I know, if there's one criticism that you can throw at them is maybe you can attack their guards, but I don't even know that that's a criticism because you can say that about half the teams in the league. Langley is just stacked from top to bottom, and there's, Broad Street unfortunately did not have their best settings in, or the right matchups in, or whatever it was. I expect to see a lot more out of them.
Yeah, I'd love to see these two teams match up in the postseason. It'd be fun to see it. Kudos to Langley, solid game all around from a lot of players. I think they had 5 guys in double digits, almost 6. And you talked about 3 guys almost in double doubles. Brendan Burmeister had 16 points and 6 assists. Imagine just giving him 4 more assists from him, you would have had 4 guys in double doubles. So, really, like to your point, a lot stacked deep. Curious to see if these two teams were to meet again, if it would be the same result. I expect a lot. I know this was not a good showing by Broad Street, but to your point, I think the game plan was a swing and a miss. Jumping ahead to the next one, let's go over to Annapolis and Kansas City. The Knights played a solid game throughout. Not surprising, the guys that we continue and expected to see came through. I'll let you guys talk a little bit about that. I think Annapolis, this is going to be similar to what we saw and said earlier. Probably will be a rebuilding year for Annapolis to try to get better and be able to build their brand for next season when they can make a run at some serious players to be even stronger. But I know G Hart will do everything regardless of the fact that regardless of the makeup of his team, but that's not taking anything away from the 3-headed monster that is Jay Duncan, Willie Leak, and CJ Green. But C-Web, talk to me a little bit about this one.
Yeah, the 3-headed monster, like you said, showed up big time. Again, 2 players with a double-double, Duncan and Green, both with a double-double. The real big story for me from this game, however, is the fact that while Kansas City had 3 players over 14 points, they also had 3 guys that didn't score at all, including
Tucker Quirk didn't even shoot the ball.
Didn't even take a shot.
No.
So I'm going to say something was a little bit off with the Kansas City strategy in that respect. I don't know why.
Or was it?
Or was it? I agree. Because those guys did contribute. Well, Tucker Quirk didn't do it. He got 1 steal, literally his only contribution in the entire game.
He was a plus 18, though.
No, you're right. He was on the court when they scored, so I guess he was just a good decoy.
How do you? Let me ask you a question. How do you play 19 minutes next to Jay Duncan, Willie Leak, and CJ Green, and literally not even have an assist? How does that happen?
That's really that's the point I'm driving home here is what happened. Did Tucker Quirk just not show up and this was some high school kid that was wearing his jersey? Like, I can't even explain it.
I mean, he must have played great defense because he was a plus 18. You know what I'm saying?
Or was he just on the court with people playing great defense?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know, but you look at the scene. You look at
the player. Let's see, who was he guarding? Because how'd that player? Did that player go 1 of 7?
I don't even know who their starting point guard was. I don't know off the top of my head.
I think he went like 1 of 7.
If G Hart was in the stream, he probably would tell us.
Yeah, I think their starting point guard would be
Prince Enrico, right?
Enrico.
I think it is Enrico. I think you're right.
So he played good
and he went
defense.
1 of 7. So he played great defense.
All right, he played great defense. All right.
Yeah, but he's as a point guard, you have no assists. That's an issue.
Yeah.
I mean, let's just go get that out there.
Yeah, I think he just hung around in the corner and just stood there while they were in the game and didn't even run up and down the court because you're a plus 18 in 19 minutes and you literally have a steal and that's the extent of your stats. This is just a little crazy. On the Annapolis, Ray, did you even talk in this game about this game yet? I feel like
there wasn't a whole lot to say after C-Web got done. I mean, he kind of covered the whole thing.
Izzy Ball, Djokovic, the guy's name is, I hate it. It's so difficult to say. Both guys are up for Annapolis with 10 points, 6 rebounds apiece. Probably their lone bright spots in this game. It's going to be an interesting. I love the Squadron's brand. It's just a question of. It's gonna be build. I mean, he knows it. He has said it point blank. It's gonna be a build season for him. But I have all the people that I have excitement for. It is him because the man is active. He's probably one of our most active people. That's the reason why he was recently promoted to an admin position, just because of how much he is vested here. So we love him. I know you guys love him. We talk to him in the boardroom all the time. Super helpful around the league. So I expect that brand to take off, especially next season. Jumping ahead, and that's not knocking. He will do everything he can, trust me, to throw everything at it for this season. But I just think next season is probably where he's going to shine. Huntington Beach, Savannah, another stellar game, guys. A 2-point game. I believe it came down to a last shot. I'll let you go first, Ray, on this one.
Yeah, on this one, this is two really good ball teams, and I'm 99.9% positive it came down to a last second shot.
Yeah, I feel like it did. I feel like it was a miss.
I think they scored with like 6 seconds left, and then the Pelicans had a shot at it.
Yeah, I think they came in the front court and missed. Yeah, if memory serves me correctly, it was a long 2 weeks, but
yeah. So, but anyways, no. We saw Tommy Suns out, guns out. Do what Tommy Suns out, guns out does. Leading the team in scores, 16 points, 16 boards. The really telling thing in this one there was the fact that no one ever led by more than 8 points. That was the telling thing, that these two teams were really, really, really close. And then the 19 times free throw, they went 16 of 19 from the free throw line, which was the ultimate difference in the game.
See what's your thoughts, and I actually have an opinion on it too. But see what's your thoughts.
Yeah, Savannah giving up 12 team fouls, sending them to the line that many times is definitely a huge difference in the game. And, if you want to point to one thing that could have cost them the win or an easier win in the end, that would definitely be it. But great performance, from Savannah. Deathridge definitely is showing his might there. Only 5 of 11 from the field, so you expect that to get a little bit better as the season goes along. These are two really strong teams. I think the low scoring nature of this game was indicative of how good these two teams are on defense as well. So
I'm glad you mentioned the defense, because both these teams shot under 50%.
Yeah, that's actually the next thing I was going to say in regards to the defense. Both these teams held under 50%. Savannah only 18% from beyond the arc. A lot of that had to do with contested shots. Huntington Beach was getting out and challenging their three-point shooters and not letting them get open looks. So it was a really fun game to watch, actually, from that side of the ball. Good defensive matchup, and Huntington Beach walked away with, like we said, the last second victory.
Yeah, Guns, solid game. Davis again, buckets again. Flip side, deep on Savannah's. They had Deathridge or Smoke Orleans out of Octavius. And Caden Norris just missed a double-double. So a lot of fun. I remember this game distinctly. It was a fun one to call. I'm looking forward to seeing what both of these teams do in the regular season. Before we jump forward, if you were a progression player and you were in the stream, please write who you are and your player's name. Write your player's name progression. After the stream, I'm going to give away 5,000 points just for being in the stream for as long as you guys are, because we only have 21 here. So I'll do that, and if you could just post who you are in the stream chat, that would be appreciated. Jumping ahead, guys, here. A game, actually, this one actually surprised me a lot. I was really concerned, and granted, this could have just been a really poor game plan by Missouri Tech. I don't know, but I was really taken aback by how well Athens played in this one, particularly how well and how balanced the team played, both from a scoring perspective and just balance throughout the lineup. Rampage, I think to my surprise, I thought he struggled in recruiting, but these guys seem like they're buying in, and I'm pretty impressed with this one. Csba, talk to me a little bit about this one.
Yeah, I know there might be a lot of people who were surprised by how well Athens played in this game. Maybe they thought Missouri Tech is just not that good. I got news for you. Rampage spent a year coaching with Glass at Ohio A&T, formerly Ohio State. I think he learned a thing or two. His strategy was solid. Athens came out with a defined game plan. They did. This wasn't. I don't think this was put together last minute. They attacked the paint. You know, they knew exactly what they were trying to do in the game, and they were 50% from beyond the arc as well. So uh, don't be surprised if Athens turns some heads as the season goes along. Missouri Tech has some work to do for sure, but they have some players with potential. Crone had 8 points, 10 boards, a little bit better shooting percentage, and that's a decent night as well. John Coffey with 10 and 5 boards. So um, there were some bright spots for Missouri Tech. They just need to get a little bit better as a team and just get the game plan straightened out. But Athens, I think, is better than we expect them to, or people expected them to be.
Ray, real quick, what's your thoughts on this one? And we'll jump ahead. We got 2 more games to go. I don't want to linger too long.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say I was going to touch on the fact that I think that Rampage did a really good job with the game plan as well. They look from the start of the game to the end of the game like they were well put together. The arcs all work together really well. So he's done his homework. He's got the players in the position that he needs them in to make a run and to do really well this season.
Yeah,
A lot better than you would think.
Yeah, you got pitch shot. Sorry.
Oh no, I was just saying a lot better than you would have thought they would be doing at this point.
Really excited about Vincent Bailey, third's game in this one. Former Tennessee product, 11 points, 8 dimes, 3 steals. Solid game for him in this one. I'm excited to see him take that next step this season. There's a lot of thoughts around what he could potentially be there in Athens, Georgia. And again, you talked about Robert Cron, almost a double-double. John, a.k.a. Cup of Coffee with 10 and 5. Matsios 8 from 4 and 4. So I'll be curious to see where these two teams head as the season rolls on. Jumping ahead to the next game, San Francisco against Cincinnati. 20-point win for the Institute of Cincinnati Centurions over the Gold Rush. Ray, what's your thoughts here?
Rusty doing what Rusty does, right? I mean, he just put together a solid game plan. And
5 players in double figures, Ray.
He lost Gleasack and got Gilsack. I mean,
So I heard he likes a sack, so
yeah. Yes. Nah, but this is a team that's loaded from top to bottom. They're another one of these teams where it's like I've struggled with them though. Like I know who they are, but do we really know who they're gonna be this season?
I don't know if their identity. I don't know if their identity. I don't know who their identity is going to be behind.
Yeah, that's
Usemi and Go is probably a guy that I think at some point will start to skyrocket for them, but I have a feeling to start the season, you're going to see them, get on the backs of Dante Green. But that's just my take. See what?
Yeah, I could see. I see what you're saying. I think that they are going to get on the back of Dante Green a bit. I think that what we saw in this game is kind of indicative of what we'll see throughout the season. As you said, Semiango probably going to skyrocket for them at some point. JB Hook kind of held down a little bit in this game, only 4 points. So maybe see a little bit more from him as the season progresses as well. On the other side, the Gold Rush, honestly, I think they just need to gel a little bit more as a unit. Only 43% from the field. So they need to get a little bit better on offense in that regard, get a few more high percentage looks, and they'll be able to keep themselves in these games a little bit better. They did hold a lead at one point early in this game, so they're not, they didn't get completely blown out of the water, although they ended up losing by 20.
Yeah, they started getting 3-point happy and started chucking them up and didn't look as solid. There's some players on this team. I'm excited to see where we go. My player actually is on this team. He's Chitwood. He finished second. Friedman, Eggers. I'd be curious to see, again, to your point, see where I think there just needs to be some gelling. And I know Vesky's gonna do everything that he can. He was really excited about the season coming in, and he's been grinding it out, trying to figure out the right lineups and whatnot. So he will figure it out. I'm excited to see where we go. Hub is asking, we're going to see the preseason top 10. That is coming out hopefully right before we start. While I'm away, the guys are going to be working on that behind the scenes. And I know C-Web and Ray actually put together their top 10 here. So stick around here. This is the last game we have to kind of go through here really quick. Pensacola and Pittsburgh Tech started off preseason. This one came down to the wire. Pittsburgh Tech, I believe, if I remember serves me correctly, Pensacola missed a shot at the buzzer to go ahead, and Pittsburgh Tech ran away with this one. Well, they didn't run away with it, but they took the win on their home court. Helix Myers with a double-double. But talk to me, C-Web, on this one.
I want to know what strategy Base ran to get his four best players to play 23 to 27 minutes.
For real, I was wondering the same thing.
Yeah, and I'll have to go back and check on that. But to my knowledge, it was balanced. But which is interesting, is Schultz only played 6 minutes.
No, I do remember watching this game. The rotations ended up being extremely bizarre because of the way teams went to the free throw line. Even if you look at Pensacola, like their minutes don't make sense either. Anyway,
well, usually when one team does, the other team follows suit. So
right. So, like I said, I think 2K got a little funky with it. Anyway, it turned into a fantastic game. Helix Myers, 20 and 10, 7 assists. He had just a massive game. Abubakar on the other side as well with 24 and 5 assists to lead the way for their respective teams. But this was just a really fun game to watch. A great way to kick off the Season 9 preseason. And happy for the Yinzers to get the win. Base has been, really pumping up that brand for the past month and a half, 2 months, however long it's been since he finalized it. So, good way for him to kick it off.
Right, talk to me.
Yeah, man. I mean, so we talk about the big three on other teams. We're going to talk about the big three on the Yinzers, right? They got Helix Myers, Aaron Ike, and Corey Mizukana, who all three can light it up. But they also add other parts with Lipos and Miz and Lions. I mean, they got a lot of guys that can score the basketball, but their top four are going to be really, really tough to stop. And Pensacola was right there the whole game. Of course, this is Iowa all over again.
Well, so they have five. Just to be clear, they have 5 blue chips, the former 5 from Iowa. After that, though, well, Rocca wasn't on Iowa last year, so let's just be clear about that. But 4 of the 5 are from Iowa. They add Rocca. Then they have 5 progression players that, this team, unless the progressions buy in, and you get 1 or 2 of those progressions to buy in and chip up, this is going to be a very scary squad. But if they don't get invested and it's just the 5, I see them being in a ton of ball games. The question is how many of them are going to close out.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I agree with that sentiment, 100%.
Yeah.
It was definitely a fun preseason. I think you could see by the results, very balanced for the most part. A lot of competitiveness, which is something that we wanted to make sure. Which I'm really excited the way these rebrands shook up some of these rosters. For the most part, we saw a few teams kind of still build extremely super strong teams throughout preseasons. But I got news for you, so did a lot of other teams too. So. Probably the most balanced CSBA we've had in now what will be now our 9th season coming up. Really quickly, let's go through. I asked you guys. I said at the top of the stream we were gonna have you guys talked to us about who you and I didn't make one, so I'm just going to comment off of what you're. And I don't have a graphic for it, so apologies. I was working right up till we launched, but Ray, talk to me. Give me your going into the regular season. Who is your top 10 teams? Give me your top 10. I'm going to write them down so that I can. Actually, I know I have them, so I can look at them on my stream. But anyway.
Okay, so I'm gonna go 10-1. Is that the way you want to do it, or you want to go
Whatever way you want to do it? It's fine.
All right, so 10-1. So 10 was a really tough, really tough spot to get because there's so many teams that I think are right there in that 9-10 range. There's a lot of really good teams, but I ended up going with Clutch City at 10. I just think with Peter Packer, Incognito, and DeMarcus Wyatt, and I mean John Bernard, they're just a loaded team, and I mean they're going to just continue. And Courtney Harris, of course, possibly freshman of the year. Again, I think they're just loaded. And then I went different with number 9. I'm sure a lot of people probably wouldn't have them, but after watching them play, I went Mississippi Delta Blues at 9.
Interesting.
They were impressive in that game, and I think that they have an ability to turn the corner and continue to win. At number 8, I got Michigan A&M. Probably could have had them higher. I'm just curious to see which way they go.
Yeah.
Indiana A&M's. I got Indiana A&M at 7. Again, they're one of those teams where they probably could have been higher as well. But the two teams I have ahead of them I could have flip flopped these guys really easy. Number 6, I got the New Orleans Revelers. I think they're a really good team. They're loaded. Number 5, I got Berwyn. That's the one that everybody's probably gonna be like, "Why has he got Berwyn number 5?" They put up 108 points. Come on,
you
now.
can't argue with that. I couldn't argue with that.
Yeah. So number 4, a lot of people's gonna disagree with me on this one because they're gonna think I'm sandbagging this team, but I don't think they're as good as 3 ahead of them yet. I think they will get there, but I don't think they're there. But number 4, I got Langley. Number 3, I went with Emerald City, only because I think Ted's going to get really good. Ted's really good at getting a team to go like 8-2, 9-1, and then lose in the first round. But they're a pretty good team. Number 2, I got the Ohio A&T, and number 1, they won the preseason tournament. They beat Bonetown by 14. I got Queen City.
Well, they didn't win the preseason. They lost to Oat, so I would flip them.
Oh, they did. So
yes.
Let's flip them then.
Yeah, you would flip
my bad.
them.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. Queen City did. They think they.
I misremembered.
All good. Yeah, they lost 82-64.
So Tote's number 1.
All right, C-Web, give me yours, and then I'll kind of comment on where I think potentially the lists.
All right, so I am going to go the opposite direction. I'll start at 1 and go to 10 since we both agree that Ohio A&T is number 1.
I would, and just to be clear, I would agree with that. So
I think they showed the most in the preseason. We did see the most of them, but again, as they say, seeing is believing. So that's why I've got them at number 1. I have Emerald City at number 2. I think they came out and played a really solid first game, and I know the talent that's on that team. Langley, I have at number 3. Despite the fact that I think Broad Street sandbagged against them, I was impressed with the way that those inside 3 really worked for them.
Yeah, so between the two you guys, you have, just so we're clear, so Ray had the Ohio A&T, then Queen City, which you guys basically are slightly different there, in the fact that you don't, and I know where your number is, where you have Queen City C-Web, but we'll talk about that in a second. But I don't see Emerald City as the top 2 or 3. I think they're a top 5. I don't see them that high. That's just my personal opinion. It doesn't mean I'm right. I actually have Langley too, so just throwing that out there. But keep going. All
right, so behind them, I've got Michigan A&M. Again, I think that they are a really solid squad, and they came out and beat what I believe to be a very talented Tar Tech team. So, the fact that Tar Tech took them to the end like that, and Michigan was able to really just close it out impressed me. Oahu, I have at number 5. I have a lot of respect for what Eaton has built there. And I was really impressed with the way that they shut down some players on my team that I expected to do a lot better. So they got a lot of respect there. They were a preseason top 10 team, and I think they're worthy of that.
What's interesting there is Ray didn't even have him in the top 10, which, and then again, that's not a knock on. And these are just pure opinions of everybody, so nobody's gonna knock it. But it's just interesting because Ray didn't even have him in the top 10, and I like, and again, I understand that I understand where Ray went with his thoughts too. So like, this is a reason why it's so difficult. What if you talk to the guys that actually do this, in certain levels, certain spots, you can say, hey, these top 3, yeah, they're probably the top 3. But it gets very murky after that, and that is where
Yep.
the eye tests come into play. The opponent's played comes into play. There's a lot of factors that go into those decisions, and we all think differently. I mean, I have the luxury of seeing everybody's overalls, which makes it easier for me to a degree. But with that said, you guys don't. And because you don't have that, you're going a lot by the eye test and who they've played. So it's just, you could say what you want based on history of performance by some of the players, but at the end of the day, a lot of it comes down to the eyes. Anyway, keep going, Csba.
Yeah. So, they're going to get used to hearing names that Ray didn't have on his list here, because I've got Albuquerque at number 6. Again, I like the team that they built. I think they had a solid strategy, and despite what I was saying about being impressed with Key West, I think that even speaks a little bit more to what Albuquerque's been able to put together, that they were able to face a team that came out firing the way Key West did, and they said, hey, no, we're going to stop you. So that's why I've got them at number 6. Clutch City, I've got at number 7. Getting back to that whole could it be 3 freshman of the year type players for that franchise in the CSBA. They're really well put together. There's a lot of coaching knowledge in that locker room. Indiana A&M, I have at number 8. Again, pretty much the exact same reasons I said for Clutch City. There's a lot of experience in that locker room, both from a coaching perspective and from a talent on the depth chart. New Orleans is coming in at my number 9. They earned their way into this, quite frankly, but with what they did against San Antonio, that really impressed me. And Queen City is the team I put at number 10. Again, this, like Ray said, it's a murky position to rank, and I thought that Queen City was kind of a murky team for me to rank, despite the way that they played in the preseason. They also won their preseason game, but I don't know who like the opponents. I don't know how they I don't know how they stack up yet. They're hard for me to judge is basically the thing.
And that's completely fair. And I'll throw out my thoughts really quickly. There are a lot of teams equally, I agree. I'm not going to give you in the order, but I'm going to give you where I do agree with you. I think Ohio A&T, I think Emerald City, I think Langley, I think Michigan A&M. I like Clutch City. I like Queen City Tech. I like Emerald City. I think I don't know if I said them already. I probably did. I like Berwyn. The interesting, murky aspect of this, I like Indiana A&M. I don't agree with Albuquerque. I don't agree with Mississippi. There are 2 other teams that I think, in my opinion, you guys don't have Bay City in your top 10. They lost by 6 points to Indiana A&M in the overtime. I really like again, this is where it gets murky for coaches, and it's rightfully so. I like Bay City a lot. They put up 92 points in an overtime game against Indiana A&M in the preseason, which is super impressive. And there's another team that we didn't that are not in either one of your top tens. I really like Kenai.
Yeah.
I really like Kenai.
Yeah, they're one of the teams. So Kenai and Oahu, Bay City. I'm trying to think of some more. Like there's
a couple that are right there.
5 or 6 teams that I had and I was just like, which one do I put there?
Yeah. So
I mean, even Kansas City too is another team that's probably right there.
Yeah, Kansas City's really good.
Huntington Beach and Savannah right there at the top. So that's where it gets murky. Once you get to like 7, 7 to 15 can be easily inverted and back and forth. You know what I mean? So
yeah, I mean, so I'm even gonna say right now, when I was writing this list out by hand, I did have Bay City ranked 10th.
Yeah.
I switched them for Queen City because Bay City lost and Queen City won. Really the only reason there. And then if I went to a top 15, so Bay City, Kenai, Mississippi, Trenton, and Quantico would have been the other 5 teams.
Who's your number 1 team?
Mine?
Who's your number 1 team?
Mine?
No.
Oh,
who's your number 1 team?
The blue team. Tell them the blue team.
Tote. He said Tote.
I mean, listen. There's a lot. There's some teams here. I mean, you talked about Mississippi being in your top 10, Ray. We didn't talk about Maine Tech. There's another team.
Yeah,
they lost by 2 points. So
2 Mississippi.
You're gonna rush me at 2 Mississippi. All right. No, I mean there's a lot of. That's why I said this season to me I think is going to be really telling how things kind of flush out. I'm excited for it. Hopefully we can try to do this once a week. That's my goal, is to try to have it either on a Saturday night or a Sunday, because we're streaming 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. every night. It's hard to add a Wired Up on top of that. So hopefully we can try to add one every week on a Saturday or Sunday. That's the hope. But I appreciate you guys. I know this was an hour and a half Wired Up, so I'm pretty stoked about that. We had a lot to talk about, a lot of good content. Hopefully everybody that did not join us will, in fact, watch this on the playback, on the VOD. I'm just going to tell you right now, Key West is the only one that responded to me as far as the progressions. So congrats, Key West. You got 5K in points. Appreciate you guys. Any parting words before we head off? I'm just going to tell you right now, Key West is the only one that responded. Ray or C-Web, any parting words?
Sorry. I didn't hear you kick it over to me there.
No, I just say any parting words.
Zay, I had you at 2. Don't worry, I had you at 2, bro. No, your only loss was to so far is into 2 Texas. I'm at 2 the Ohio A&T, and you did beat Indiana A&M, and I actually thought y'all had won that game against Tote. I couldn't remember correctly. So yeah, I have y'all at number 2.
I had to do these rankings. Just a disclaimer. I did not want to.
I was forced.
No. I actually, I think, the teams that I mentioned, I do think proved what they had to. And we had a really exciting preseason. I'm excited to see what's coming up in week 1, and try to keep some activity going here next week with some content drops and things like that.
You know what, Jedrick, I'll give you 2,500 just because you were at least. I'll give you 2,500. I'll put it in your thing. Yeah, I mean, this is a good one. We're going to try to do something like this, and if I can't, obviously, if you guys are not around on the weekends, I know we all have families and wives and whatnot, we'll grab some other people, too, to help out, just to mix it up, too, because I know none of you guys are always going to be here. But I appreciate you all very, very much. Obviously, Ray, I'll see you on Tuesday, my friend. When we hit the links in Myrtle Beach. So excited for that. Appreciate everybody who did actually hang out to the very, very bitter end here. Thanks, y'all. And right, appreciate you guys. See you guys on Monday. See you guys in a week from Monday. All right? Everybody have a great rest of your weekend. CSB out. Peace.